student of Professor Okazaki for 3 years in the 1920s on judo and karate, and then 21 years from 1930 on until I left there when they closed down Pearl Harbor, studying nothing but massage. But this is the professor. He's one of the most intelligent men about the body of anybody that I've ever met. And he teaches everything in the manner that he does it. He's the best there is any place. Points, which are probably problems for most of the body problems, are located in the back of the skull and on each side of the head right in here. You find 2 spots just the size of your fingertip, of your middle finger. You work those things 20, 25 times, then work it down to the shoulders and out. And that's where we're going to start this massage work now. Massage throughout the world. And then there are variations on every one of these types that are out until it runs into at least 40 that I know of. But the Oriental massage didn't start until about 30,000 years ago in China, so it's known as the oldest. The other one that is done by so many people is the Swedish massage, which is less than 180 years old. So there's quite a difference in them, and they're just the opposite in application. With the Oriental massage, you start the head and work south or work towards the feet, and with the Swedish massage, you start at the feet and work up. And we'll get into that later on. But we'll start right off now with the Oriental massage by going to the occipital point on this side of the head. A little tender spot in there. This, when it gets bad, it's a pretty good sized knot now. When it gets bad, it ends up in dizziness, in headaches, strain, stress. You plan a thing to happen a certain way and it don't, you say, oh damn! When you do, you put a knot in here, and they get on both sides. But these can all be rubbed out gently. Never hurt a person doing this. If I hurt you, let me know. Then you work that from here down to the shoulder. Where's our, excuse me. Now, this is hot enough that I don't want to put it on you yet, but I want to show you what heat does in certain areas. Let me take this off for a minute and put this up here this way. Now, feel the heat? It is too hot, is it? Good. This is good for you. Loosens up muscles, loosens up nerves. Your face this way, please. Now, get right into there. Let you work that down to the point of the shoulder. I'm coming back and covering it again this way. Now this isn't too hot because I can stand it on my hand, but it's warm. Now you always work the direction of blood flow and always work the direction of the fiber of the muscle. Now this muscle starts here and comes out this way, the blood flows the same direction. So you're working to force blood through there. Then do the same thing from the vertebra. Your fingertips on the vertebra, and as you come down, you feel little knots in there, like that one. That's tender. That's a little one, it isn't bad though. But this again is the grain of the muscle. These muscles, the blood flow this direction, so we go that direction.
So in the Japanese massage, you work with the grain of the muscle,
That's right,
as opposed to against the muscle.
That's right. And never against the blood flow on the arteries. And I'll get to that when we get down a little bit farther. But see this? Well, it's about 25 or 30 strokes along there. And if you find any Right there's one I should have been on. It's tight. Work these little circles like this and then work them out in the direction that the blood's flowing. Because what you're actually doing, you're forcing blood through that muscle the direction it goes, and then it comes down towards the hand. But as you do that, you take that blood out, force it down to the tips of the fingers, in fact down just as to the wrist. If you go any farther, you'll pop a blood vessel on the end of it. But doing it that way, as you force that blood out here, fresh blood comes in behind. That's when we take bruises out. Take them out in just a matter of minutes. You're working at the full length of the arm. In fact, this is used for several different things. For example, if you had high blood pressure, you start here and feel this in your fingertips now. Right? About 20 to 25 strokes like this, you're breaking up cellulitis, you're breaking up anything that happens to be in there, you're forcing it to the extremities. It's picked up here, goes back to kidneys and liver where it's cleansed, and goes through the cycle again to come around. But this is the way, by doing this, you're breaking up fatty tissue in there at the same time, and it's taking a little bit of weight off, but it's doing mostly a reduction of high blood pressure. And then when you get down to the hand, you work out in this manner. Separately from that, down to the wrist. In the hip, these muscles come out this way, the blood flows this direction, so you work it in that direction. And this is the same as it was on the arms. And for high blood pressure, you work the legs in this manner down to here. Forcing that blood out of there, letting fresh blood come in behind it.
Are you working with the femoral artery when you're doing that?
Yes, but you're going towards the foot, and that doesn't hurt it. If you go the opposite direction, you'll have the problem I have today. Now, there are 2 points in the heel here that should be worked. They're in the they're in the shiatsu system, but it's good to work them because it helps a lot. But then you come down across here. Here's another point right in here. Flexology, the tips of the toes out here are the sinuses for this. Big toe in here is the pituitary, and it needs working every now and then. The hemorrhoids can be addressed by going around the heel this way and help them considerably. The eyes are these 2 nerves just below the 2nd and 3rd toe. The ears are between the 4th and 5th toe. You work these. Of course, if they have a problem in that area, you work it more than I'm doing it right now. Cut. how to get high blood pressure by working this arm and this leg. Then you go over to the far side and do the same thing over there. Then you turn them over and do the same thing from the other side, because you can't reach clear around the leg, and you overlap on the arm, but you still do the whole thing over, so that you're doing double on the body to get this high blood pressure down. But when you get the low blood pressure, the medulla oblongata is right here, that indentation at the base of the skull in the center. You give that about 25 turns like that, and if you come up an inch from that, you find a rivet there where the skull is tied together. They didn't have welding at that time, so they just riveted. And then there's the third one up here. Give it about 25 turns, and the fourth one is here. And the fifth one is on the point of the left jaw. Now you do that 20, 25 times on each one of those points, and then do that 4 or 5 times a series, and check the pressure. You'll find that it's coming right up. But you have to start the medulla oblongata, come up an inch, another inch, another one, here's the fourth one, and here's the fifth one on the point of the left jaw.
So there are layers to the skull, and are you saying that you get into the medial point of each layer going up to the top of the skull?
That's right.
Uh-huh.
And you'll feel those places in there. They're not especially tender, but they are something you can feel. That will take care of high and low blood pressure. Now, if you run into somebody with a heart murmur, it'll go boom, 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 boom. When you do that, you go to the left hand, and on the inside of the little finger here, H, the heart meridian, starts right here under the shoulder in that webbing. Then it goes down the inside of the arm. This is 7, 8, and 9 is right here at the middle of this finger. Now this will be tender, which is it? I don't know that.
Well, I can feel it.
Well, I don't want to hurt you. But you squeeze this right there. And you hold that for 25, 30 seconds. You can go up to a minute. And we get through, check the heart again, and it says boom, 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 etc. This thing comes in, boom, 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 a nice strong beat, and no problem to it. Okay, now we'll go to the hips. That's good. That's good. In this area, I've had several women come to me. In fact, one that lives in San Diego now, that came to me back in the 30s, and she says, "Roy, Mac and I've got a problem." I said, "What's that?" She said, "Well, Mac and I have been married for 19 years, no children. So I understand you can help me." I went out and saw Okazaki, and he says, "If anybody can help me, you can." And I said, "Oh, wait, if you got any dirty stories, let's have them. But what did he say to do?" She says, "Get these nerves right through here. There are 5 of them. You come up through this way. You work these in an up manner like this. Remember, this is nerves, not blood. You do that 20, 25 times. And I worked on this woman for 3 weeks, every other day. And I said, "Okay, we stop now. Let me know when your next period comes." And she called me a month later. "I don't have any more." We got buns in the oven. And I've done that on a number of people here that have wanted to have families and couldn't. And they all have families now. In fact, that one in San Diego, the first child was born, and the night it was born, her husband was in the hospital for tonsillectomy, and he almost bled to death. The same night, nurse left the blanket over the baby's face and smothered it. It near killed the 2 of them. They left Honolulu right away and never came back for duty. But anyhow, I got back to the States, was transferred back to Washington, D.C. to Bureau of Aeronautics, and I got sent down to Pensacola, and I ran into Mac down there. And "Yeah, you gotta come over to the house, you gotta come over." Here they just had twins. So then I went up to someplace up north on the East Coast for a problem we had with aircraft, and got there, and here was Mac. "Oh, come on over to the house." So I came over again. Here they had the 4th boy. that was alive, and boy, were they ever happy. So then, a couple of years after that, I was up in Philadelphia at a meeting, and here was Mac up there. Hey, you've got to come over to the house. I went over there. I had dinner every time. I had dinner this time too, but I got there and Dorothy met me doing, hey, you're the guy who started this, now how do you stop it? And I said, I don't know, the professor didn't tell me anything about that at all. I know nothing about it. So that's the way it ended. But they had, their boys are all grown now, one up in the Sheriff's Department, one in the Navy, one in the Air Corps. Forgot what the other one's doing.
So you're actually medial and lateral on both sides of the sacrum that the nerve endings, the sex nerve endings are at. Is that correct?
Right. That's exactly right.
Uh-huh.
If you have trouble with the stomach, indigestion, that sort of thing, you work up through here. Come out 2 inches from that place, and it's right here and right here. That'll take care of the stomach problems. We'll go to the problem that many women have and lots of men that won't admit it. But cellulitis, it seems to be the problem. And you find the skin puffed up and then indented on practically every hair because the hair won't stretch and come out, and therefore it's the indentation around the hair. But to get that, you take the tips of your fingers in this manner without the nails. That would take on flesh too. But you cut this way, say 50 times. As deep as you can go on that. This is the only time you're allowed to hurt a person. Then you come 90 degrees to that this way and do the same thing.
So you're actually going against the muscle grain and you're tearing it down?
You're tearing the fatty tissue out.
Fatty tissue down.
Yes. Then you can come the same way on the outside of the leg here. So you get 50 turns at that, then you turn, and it's easier to do it from the other side of the table, but the same thing is done here. Coming back across that, you break that up, and then after you complete that, wherever you're going to work on the body, the stomach, the legs, maybe the arms if necessary. But after that, then you give a complete massage. You get the debris that you've broken up in there out of the system. And when massaging this way, it's taken down here back to the liver and kidneys is cleansed and back into circulation again. But now the other part of this that I didn't get was the exercise of the knee. Grasp the foot here in a way that you don't hurt it, and don't overdo it in any manner. So you're working the ankle, the knee, and the hip joint all at the same time. You do that 20 turns, then you reverse it. Get the same thing from there. And then you take it this way. Now this is stretching that front muscle, front of your leg. Not enough to hurt them. 15, 2, 3, 4, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we have done 1/4 of the body from here. And we're ready to start on the other side. In order to give us enough film to show this thing the way we want to, I'm not going to do the other side now. I'll step out while you get her turned over on the table, taking the pillow out from under her head and all, and let me know when she's covered again. I'll be back, and I'm ready to at least have it out of the way. And we start at the occipital again. This is the right occipital. We'll work on that, and then you work that down to the shoulder, then from the shoulder out to the point of it in this manner, so that you get rid of the Meniere's disease, dizziness, all that sort of thing, which originates right there. You get down here. The first thing to do, you stop getting mad and you don't get these things. If you get mad or excited or anything that's really rough on you, these knots occur in here. But that's mental and can be taken care of mentally. Just refuse to get mad. Don't have my lotion on it. push machines we're doing. Well, we're coming from the vertebra out to the point of the shoulder. Then we get the point of the shoulder in this manner, because you actually come out this way to the point, and then down the arm. I hope that I didn't overexpress myself on this Swedish massage, but there's one thing that you don't do for a damn good reason. And I'm the best example we've got right now of that. Because 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, I had a man come in here taking his test for his license in Reno, and he was very strong, and he really poured it on. But he got down here, he started working up on these arteries through here. Your heart is laying here on the left side, and just about that angle. And the aorta comes out of the top of the heart here. It comes down to here and then splits, and it goes down the inside of the legs. It comes up from here, splits, and goes down the inside of the arms, and it comes up to the neck, to the carotid arteries, and up through here to the brain. So anytime you put any amount of pressure on this at all, anything more than that, you're putting pressure on the brain and on the lungs. And that's what happened to me, and I haven't been able to do anything for over 21 months. But it's all on account of just that. But the rest of the massage is wonderful, and it does a lot of good for people. Just be careful that you don't allow anybody to work up on those arteries, putting back pressure on the heart and the brain. The heart itself, the bicuspid valve here, I'm saying that one, is quite a strong valve. It'll take a lot of pressure. So the heart isn't really affected, but the lungs and the brain sure are. But see, we've done the same thing on this side now that we did on the other side of this arm, and if we're getting high blood pressure down, it's in this manner. Right to the wrist, and then work out to the fingers in this manner. And we got that finished. Now this young lady has a problem with congestion that I want to work on without moving anything around at all. And you work the top of the lungs in this manner, from the center out, if that's the direction of flow of blood. And then you can do this better from the other side. We'll do it from here. Now, you go out that manner, and then you come down. And by the way, there's no reason to ever work on a woman's breast. Professionally. I've had 2 occasions that one woman came in here, after I'd worked on her a couple of times. She said, well, we have another problem we haven't told you about. And I said, oh, what's that? She said, well, we're going to have a family in camp. I said, I can take care of that very easily, working on those nerves in the hip. She said, but that isn't my problem. I have inverted nipples. She put the towel down. It just looked like a closed eye across there. They're that bad. And I said, well, we'll take care of that. So I showed her husband how to get underneath, pull over the top and up this way. And within about 2 weeks, doing this 3 times a week, her nipples are out where they should be. But I said, don't let any doctor tell you that you can't have babies because your nipples are inverted. There's plenty of babies that have been raised on the bottom, strictly on the bottom. Now this is your large intestine. Comes up through here, over through here, and down through here. And if that gets clogged, I was told the other day that the belly dancers exercise is the best thing in the world for that. I've been using it for quite a while, and it stops constipation. Start rolling from here down, by tightening your muscles, rolling them this way. You do that 25 times, and then start here and roll these muscles up. It's a matter of, and then, that's good on the up. You're doing it up and down at the same time. Good, good.
Belly dancer.
Yeah. Well, it works. I haven't been bothered. While I was in the hospital, the 5 hospitals I was in, the 3 operations I had, I was constipated all the time, always taking some kind of drugs. get rid of it. It never helped me a bit. But when I got home and started this, I haven't had any problems since then with it. But it's this way. But that's the direction of flow. Now the small intestine is in the center here, and it comes in through the ileocecal valve just about here into the large intestine. And if you get a lot of pain here and you can't pass anything at all, that means this is plugged as well as the large intestine. So if you do this exercise and get this opened, then this thing, you'll hear a little quibble, quibble, little bubbles going through that and going into the large intestine. Then it'll clear up and be all right. But you have to work them in this direction, the small intestine, because it comes in that way. But working the intestine in this manner, the large intestine, does wonders for that. Did that feel any better on the chest though? Good. Oh. Now, how's it? Oh, cut. Back to the breast area, there's no reason except the one I just told you about. This woman had inverted nipples, that you touch the breasts at all. They're too easy to bruise and cause cancer. So keep your hands off of them at all times. And it isn't professional to embarrass anybody. That would be embarrassing anyhow. So we leave that part of it out. But you can work down, you can work between them if it's necessary for congestion across the top or across underneath. But keep your hands off the breast. That's one of the things that you never do. And then we got the stomach area. We're on the leg now. Now this again, if it's for high blood pressure, is done this way, by overlapping your hands and getting all of this side of the leg. You've got it from the back when we're doing the other way. You do the same thing here. But the normal massage is just the direction of the grain of the muscle and in this manner. Then you get down to here and get the lower legs and the feet, same manner as we did before, working down this way. But while we're at this, I want to show you the left shin because that's very important. People with young babies get colic and they're crying all the time. They can't help it. But the stomach meridian, according to the chart over there, starts up at the shoulder and comes down the outside the leg right through here. And this shin bone right here, except for one exception there, this is all stomach meridian right down to here. So you rub that with just a little lotion on it. On a baby, very gently, and not over 12 times. On an older person with a lot of gas, you can rub this thing with all the pressure you want that they can take and still not hurt them while they're crying about it. But work this thing about 12 times. The acid is absorbed, the gas is gone, and all the pain is gone right then. So remember that for children. Then work this down. We get these points in the heel again because they're very important. Get the arch, the top of the foot, and out to the toes in this manner. Now the exercise of the leg consists of doing similar to what you did when she was on her stomach, except that you take it this manner. Get this 12 to 20 times in this manner. Again, you're exercising the ankle, the knee, and the hip joint all at the same time.
I notice that you're putting your whole body into it,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
That's a very necessary thing in this massage. If I were to stand here and do this way, I'd last about 5 minutes. But you put that in and let your legs do most of the movement, and it saves all that trouble for the rest of your body, and you don't tire as easily. And then when you finish that, then you touch down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, thing, arms, you get bruises in them, or they get sore, they get tired, or legs with cramps in them. Get that leg, this slip over this way, just this far. Maybe you better come to this side of the table with the camera. Let's see if this, yeah, that's all right. Now, get rid of cramps. First, you find the nerves that affect that muscle. Work them just a little bit and loosen them up. But the other thing is get that leg straight up in the air for 20 seconds. And you'll feel the blood. Oh, 40 seconds. Yeah, you're right. 40 seconds up and 20 down. But feel the blood coming down through your leg. Well, we'll say that that's 40 seconds. No, feel the change of direction. It's going the other way. But you do that 40 up and 20 down on an arm or a leg, and right away it creates a circulation in there. It just speeds it up. It takes care of it. There's no more problem. I had a man here a few years ago that couldn't walk at all. He had practically carried me here on the table. I said, why? Oh, my legs are too sore. I can't walk on them. So we did this on him. Third time he came in, he walked in by himself, still bringing a wheelchair, and he didn't have any more problem with his legs. He took care of it just that easily. Cut. We've made the remark several times that you're never to hurt a person, but there are times when you have to. We got a new chief of police in Honolulu in 1928, came out from Berkeley, and he went around checking these policemen to see what they're doing. Here they had a bunch of fat Kanakas on the day shift that had been playing ukuleles and guitars all night long, and as a result, you go up to Fort and Baratania, was the only stop sign in the city. Here's the cop sitting in a big, he had a frame built about 6 feet in diameter so he could get inside of it and sit there. And then he had a flag on top, stop and go. And you pull up there and you stop and you wait, and you wait, and you wait. Pretty soon you get mad and beat the horn at him. When you did, he'd turn around and shake his fist at you, turn the sign another way, go right back to sleep. So Gabrielson says, we'll not have any more fat Kanakas doing that. They'll either be on the force up to 24 hours a day with no problems at all, or they won't be on the force at all. The other thing, he says, we'll not have any shorties on the force. You have to be 5'10" to get on. So somebody said, well, you better go out and talk to Okazaki because he can stretch people. So I went out there, the old man said, if you have, man, good credentials for everything except size, you bring them to me, I stretch. So he laid him on the table as you were in the beginning, on your stomach, and then they nailed 2 2-4s at each corner of the table all the way around, and he'd get 8 men from the judo lab, 250 pounds or more, and lying on your stomach, they're back here, 2 on each arm and 2 on each leg, pulling for all they're worth, brace on these 2-4s. Well, while they're doing that, the old man would get his, he had a real pointed elbow, about like the end of my finger. He'd get that between the bottom vertebra and get in there like a screwdriver between 2 blocks you want to move. And he'd do this, and this guy's screaming bloody murder. And then he'd go up the next one, the same thing. He'd go up the full length of it, then he'd come back this side and start up through here. And he hurt the person every time he did it, they kept on screaming. But we averaged 5/8 of an inch gain in height for every 6 weeks we worked on him. One man that I knew him, Mr. Wong, and I was back to the States here for about 3 months on vacation. I came back and I looked around and I said, oh, what happened to Mr. Wong? Well, he on the force now. I says, we must have stretched him a lot. He said, sure did, 5 1/8 inches. See this cop going down the street with real short legs like this and this long torso. He looked funny, but he was on the force and the happiest cop that you ever laid eyes on. But the other things I wanted to tell you about is, I better come to that side of the table. Cut. Into shiatsu. In most all cases, shiatsu is done on both sides. There's a center down through here, conception vessel, and there's a center one in the back, the governing vessel, they're center lines, so they're not repeated. But every other meridian in your body out here, you've got 6 of them here, you've got 6 here. These are identical. This one is identical to that, so on down the line. The heart meridian starts here, comes down to here, it's duplicated on the other side. But for a murmur in the heart, it's only done on the left hand So it's that place right there. Now the same thing with a toothache. If you have a toothache on this side, you put your finger, see that bump in your ear? Put your finger above that, your thumb behind it, squeeze this hard as you can, and hold that for 60 seconds. And it's better than anesthesia.
It's right on the lump on the ear, is that
No,
correct?
it's just above it.
I can't, well, point with your finger.
There's the lump in the ear, and this is where you put your finger just above it, and you squeeze it. But I went to my dentist a few years ago, about 5, 6 years ago, with a bad tooth in here. It's gone now. But he said, well, wait, he took an x-ray, and he said, he got a pus bag in there, that big on the end, but that has to come out. I said, okay. He said, wait till I get my needle. I said, forget your needle. So I reached up here and pinched that thing and held it for 60 seconds. He said, what's that? I said, this is Oriental anesthesia. And it doesn't allow you to chew on your cheek and chew a hole in it either when you get through. So he started working on this. He took a hammer and chisel and split that in 3 pieces. The 2 outside ones came out, but he was in my lap trying to break that inside one loose, and it wouldn't. So finally he said, well, that isn't coming out. I'm going to have to get my needle. I said, well, if you do, you use it on you because I don't need it. So he crawled back in my lap, and when that thing popped, a piece of jawbone about just nearly an inch long came out with the tooth. He said, oh, I don't know what to do now. So he cut that open, went in, buffed it smooth, cleansed it out, sewed it up. He said, that's a major operation. I don't know how you did it. I said, just by pinching the ear here in this manner and hold it for 60 seconds, that takes care of this side of the face. If it's on the other side, you do the same thing there. Now that is shiatsu, but if you had ear points that you're doing for anything else, say it was these 2 ear points here, you'd have, you have your right on the right and your left on the left, and you work these, or you work these, or you work these, whatever you're working. If you're working these points, you're working the same manner. Because your energy is right to left, mine is the same way, and in order to take something out of this meridian, say there's a meridian right here, I get on that and I'm putting energy in here, which is going up through here, down through here, back into this hand. So after I do that for so many seconds, then I'll stand here and throw this off to get that stuff out of my hand, because if I don't, I'll put it back in you someplace else or it'll affect me. So we have to get rid of the stuff you take out.
Mr. Wilson, why is it that so many shiatsu schools do not teach you to go right to right, left to left simultaneously? Why is it that the Japanese seem to think that this is the way to do it?
This all started in China 30,000 years ago, and it developed from there into Japan, and Japan picked it up, did the same thing, but it's the way they teach it there, and it isn't the way they're teaching it here at all. They'll say, well, if you've got a point, we'll put a finger on that, that's shiatsu. It isn't. Shi is fingertips, atsu is pressure in Japanese, and if you put one finger on, you've cleared up that meridian, but this one over here is just the same as it was, and you can have all your trouble here and not know it. So you get both on the same meridian at the same time. You get these. Now, for, hold it. I've had quite a number of people with Bell's palsy, too many of them. And that is a trifacial nerve, which is located right there. Feel that nerve? You work that in circles like this, and then you work it out of here twice as much as you worked it up there. You get the sediment out of that nerve, and it clears up. The trifacial nerve is up to the 8th cranial nerve, and if there's a problem any place, it ends up with that nerve right there being pinched and swollen and tender. So you work it this way, and you work it out, and it gets rid of it completely. I had another boy come in here. Well, I met him up the lake when I was doing acupuncture up there with Dr. Lau. But he came up there, and the first time his mother brought him in, and we had made quite an issue of acupuncture up there anyhow. But this one day I came in at 8 o'clock. We got through at 8 that night, and Dr. Lau came over and he said, well, too many people make appointments for us. This is too much work. We didn't even take time off for lunch at noon. So he counted up his money. He said, hey, you know, this big money kind. This big money kind. So he called his brother in Bangkok and had him come back, and in a week's time taught him all he had to know about acupuncture. They didn't have a chart like this in the place, and his brother didn't know where any points were. The points are definitely located, close to 700 of them, all over the body, and each one of them has a reason. And as I said before, this bladder meridian has 2 places here, also has 2 places out here, because it goes up and down, and here up and down the same way. But you use the acupuncture as fingertip pressures, going from right to left, in this matter, and you cure lots of things. But Joey came in up there, and I didn't know anything about him that first day, but I saw this brother come in and just stuffed needles in him just all over, and he couldn't speak. He had he was had cerebral palsy. Couldn't speak, couldn't walk, couldn't do anything. And putting these needles in, he couldn't make a sound for it. So the second time he came in, I said, how about let me work on Joy? This fellow said, fine. He had muscles, felt like they're solid as a board because he's always tied up. So I'd talk to him, I'd slip a needle in, and slip another needle in, come over here and get one, and up in here, whoever it was, and treat him. And the next time he came in, his mother says, you know why Joey's coming here? And I said, yes. He wants to be able to walk and talk. I said, this isn't right the way things are going, though. So that's why I agreed to do it. She said, well, if you hadn't, he wasn't coming back here. No more jabbing needles like that guy did it. There was no sense to it anyhow. But anyhow, when I left there, I was afraid this second doctor was going to kill somebody. There's an S35 right here. You put a needle into that and it's instant death. There's one right here, GV24, that leads to insanity. So there are 47 places in the body that you never put a needle. Now you can do shiatsu on that and there's no problem to it. But you put a needle in here or up there and you've got problems. Well, since this fellow wasn't paying any attention to any of that, I left. I wouldn't go back. So Joey came to the house here and I worked on him for several months. And finally, when his father died and he couldn't come over anymore, I used to go over off Keystone and work on him over there. But one time I said, Joey, he said, that's all. But I said, let's get you where you can talk. So I said, now, when I press down on the shoulder, you take in a deep breath in. His lungs were so collapsed he hadn't air enough to express himself in anything. So I worked on him that way for a week or 2, 3 times a week. And one time I was working on him and I said, Joey, let's try this again. I stand here and he'd throw his shoulders back and take it. And he got a real breath in there when he did it. And I said, okay, now do that again and hold it. So he did. I said, now call your mom. He said, hey, Mom. She come right, Joey, you all right? Did he hurt you, Joey? What's wrong? He said, nothing, but I think you got it fixed. And he never had any trouble talking. In fact, he got to be quite a talker after that. But then getting him to walk this up and down movement on the legs, got them cleared up. He became quite a talker after that. He was talking about everything. In fact, he paid me, I think, the highest compliment I've ever had. When I had him in pretty good shape, I said, well, I've got many people I have to work on, so I can't come here as often. He said, that's all right, but do you think I could learn this? And I said, you know, why do you want to learn massage? He said, if I could work on people and do them as much good as you have me, he said, I couldn't think of anything more delightful. That was quite a compliment, I thought. But Joy was all right. Well, then we had other people. I had a boy come to me in Honolulu one time. I said, if you don't mind. He came to me, and I went to the door, and a tall, good-looking kid standing there, and I said, well, what's your problem? What can I do for you? And he said, I thought he was trying to imitate Mortimer Snerd first. I started getting mad, and I looked at his eyes, and his eyes were just pleady. I said, just a minute, do you have a friend here? Shook his head, yes. I'd bring him over. So here's one of the kids in one of my judo classes had sent him over. And he'd been out to see Okazaki too, and Okazaki said to come to me. I said, well, I can work on it, but I'm going to call Okazaki, be darn sure I'm doing the right thing. So the old man said, get a hold of his tongue like this between your knuckles and pull that thing just hard as you can. And then every now and then pull up on it like that and tear it. The tongue was tied down so bad he couldn't bite his tongue any place. He couldn't get it up to the teeth level. So I worked on him for quite a while. When you got the tongue stretched out like this, you take the other hand and massage the top and bottom of the tongue where it loosens up, and then you tear it a little bit more. Then you work on these muscles in the throat that have to do with the voice. And it wasn't long I had him talking pretty good. So his mother came over one time. She said, I don't know what you did to that boy, but he's sure a different one now. I said, well, tell me something about him. She said, well, he's a graduate of Louisiana U, electrical engineer, but he's been working in the Navy Yard down here for 2.5 years as a helper because he can't communicate. But he says he's doing all right now. She was very thankful. About 2 years after that, after I got back to the States, I got a letter from him saying he's now assistant shop foreman in that same shop. His whole trouble was being tongue-tied. But that was fixed very easily by the professor. A number of years ago, well, when we first got here, I designed this house, we had it built. And I got a hold of the man that owned the property. And I says, you've been here most of your life. You must know a lot about this area. And he said, quite a little while. And I said, well, I'm a rock hound. Where do you find some beautiful rock to decorate around the house with? What in the yard? That sort of thing. He said, you go up to Gerlach, go 10 miles beyond that, past that hot pool I have up there where people have been scalded to death. But go up there at the mountains, and any place you go up there, there's all kinds of, any kind of rock that you want. So I took the wife, my daughter was 4 years old, my dog was 4 months old at that time, and I went up on the mountain with the dog. They stayed down at the car. As I found rocks I liked, I'd throw them down, and put them in the back of the car. Well, I looked down there one time, and here was a rock. It must have been larger than a plate, good 10, 12 inches across, and all kinds of iridescent colors in that. Oh, it was beautiful. So I just leaned over to step. It was only about 2 feet down, and almost vertical except for that area. And just then the dog must have got scared by a snake or something. He came running right between my legs, and I fell 10 feet. There was a boulder there, and I hit on this arm, the left arm, on that boulder, and it was broken off, one sticky almost through the flesh here and down here. The radius had broken at both ends. So I thought for a minute, if I wait till I get down to the car, that's going to be so swollen they'll have to cut it to do something, so I'll do it now. So I got a hold of this bone and pull it out and then fit it. This, you have to know how bones look, the shape of them, but you pull that out and get that thing where it fits, and then put it back in place. Then you pull this wrist out, and you get this one the same way, put it back in there. The rest of the day, 40 seconds up and 20 down. All the rest of the day. When I got too tired, I stopped for 5 minutes and do it over again. I did it the next day. The third day I was doing massages again. And that was a compound fracture.
No cast?
No cast, no nothing. The cast doesn't do anything. In fact, I tore all the ligaments in this shoulder one time getting wood up at the lake. And I went in to see my doctor. He took an x-ray of it. He said, right, there's only one thing can be done for that. And I said, what's that? He's put you in a cast for 3 months. And I said, oh, no, you don't. Not me. He said, well, that's the only way it'll heal. And I said, don't give me that line, because a cast has nothing to do with healing properties at all. All it does is keep you from moving those muscles, and they generally heal better. But there's a better way than that. He said, what's that? I said, straight up for 40 seconds and straight down 20. And I said, that'll heal it. Well, he said, I want you back here every Monday morning. I want to see how that thing comes. So instead of 3 months getting that thing healed, I went back every week. And the third week I went in, he had to undress. He had to look at this and feel it all. I moved the arm circles and all over. He said, well, you must have youth on your side. I said, you better identify him, because I don't think I've met him. He said, well, I said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, well, if you weren't young, that wouldn't heal. He says, that's the answer right there. I said, well, He says, you're young yet, you're not in your 50s yet. And I said, that's been over 24 years ago, Doc, so let's forget about that. When I left there, he's still talking to himself. Well, if he's in his 70s, it can't heal that fast. Yet it is. And he was still arguing himself when I left. But he became my best friend, and he's the one that got me at the hospital for these other operations I had. Did a good job of it. He's all right. But if you know the bones, the structure, how they look, you know what they have to look like when you get through with it. You put it in that configuration, and it works. And the best book in the world is one by Barnes & Noble, which went out of production less than a year ago, and they're not available right now. But I called Barnes & Noble, and I said, I understand you're not publishing this book anymore. He said, well, we weren't going to, because they ruined the plates for all the color prints in there. And he said, they're expensive. It's ridiculous to get again. But we just got a quote on that, makes it reasonable, so we'll have the books for you by May of this year.
What was the name of the book?
It's Anatomy of the Human Body by Barnes & Noble. And I'm trying to contact people now that have taken the examination and have studied this book and loan that to people that are coming up until May, until we get our books in. And they run around $7 now. They may be a little bit more because I had to redo all the plates and there'll be a few changes made in it, but it's the best book I've ever found. The university used it for their student nurses up there, and they couldn't get any more either, so got a call from them. They appreciate get these things where they can be successful in shiatsu. You must have ki energy. That's energy is going to flow through your body and heal them. And since there are 6 meridians on each side of the body and 6 in the back in the same manner, the conception vessel is up the front, up to the chin. The governing vessel is up the back and comes over to the edge of the hairline. Those two are not duplicated because they're center line, but every other meridian in your body is duplicated. And where you find the heart meridian starting here and going to here, you've got the same thing in the other arm. So that in order to do this properly, you'll use your ki energy by putting your right hand on the right side on pseudo spot, your left hand on the left side of the body, and then your energy implements their flow of energy, comes around to this hand, and the thing that's troubling them in these two centers will be in this left hand. So when you get through with that act, you throw this thing off. Get rid of the stuff that's come out of their body. Otherwise, you can put it back in them, or you can absorb it yourself. In order to prevent that, you would just shake it off and get rid of it. You would move to another. But if your ki energy isn't strong enough, you should be able to hold your hands out like this, tighten every muscle in your body, starting with your feet, work up through your knees, your hips, your shoulders, your back, your arms. I can feel energy in this other hand right now, just like a breeze going across there. But you do well to demonstrate that to people. Have them put their left hand in front of you, hold it out like this. Then you take your hands like this, tighten every muscle in your body and come in on that. And they can feel the energy going through the back of their hand in the body. So that's the way you prove it. But if you want to improve your ki energy so it's stronger, you got to get a quarter of a door jamb like this, up on your toes and bend your knees slightly. Now practically every vertebra is touching the edge of that door frame up to between your shoulders. And with that, pull your stomach up as tight as you can hold it for the count of 20, just like that. You hold that for 20 seconds, do that 20 times, 3 times a day, and it isn't very long until your ki energy has become quite apparent. It really works.
Right now we're going to use Starfire to demonstrate the ki energy exercise. First of all, we're going to have Starfire bring her toes up and plant her heels against both sides of the frame. Then we're going to have her bend her knees, however much you can bend them without feeling tight. And as you can see in her lower lumbar area, there is a hole between the door and herself. What we will be doing is having her inhale, and as she does, she will be straightening that out and planting the whole spinal column against the door frame. Very good. And on the exhalation, she will just release and just let everything be. And you will repeat those exercises at least 20 times every day to help your key energy flow.
Problem that exists considerably is fairly young girls with breasts that are sagging, like they're full of cement. And that isn't necessary, it's just a lack of pectoral muscle activity. And if you put your fingertips together like this in front of your chest and press this way, you can feel every muscle in your chest pulling. And if it's a real bad condition you're trying to correct, just doing this 2 or 3 times isn't going to have any effect at all except make your arms tired. And you can feel the muscle getting sore in here. But if you'll do that for up to 5 minutes a day and do it daily, it isn't long until that'll have an effect. I've had someone in here that really had a sag that within 6 months of them taking care of themselves, they looked very good. It's entirely with me in Hawaii one time, and I thought I knew her. I wasn't sure, but she told me her name, and I said, "Oh, I know your husband. He's in one of my judo classes." Yeah, that's right. She says, "He tells me that you can take weight off me." I said, "I can take off any amount you want. How much time have we got?" She says, 6 weeks. I said, "That can be taken care of very easily. But I'll have to see you 3 times a week to do that." She said, "Fine." And I says, "How tall are you?" She says, 6'1½", and her weight was 317 pounds, just slightly overweight. Her husband was 6'6½" and 378 pounds, and he didn't have any fat on him. He was all muscle. But we worked on her doing that massage as I showed you here a while ago. And in the end of 4 weeks, she came in and she's wearing, maybe you know what an obi cloth is. It's a cloth about 18 inches wide that Japanese women tie their babies on their back with. A lot of silver and gold woven into that, and it's really gorgeous cloth. And here she is wearing a full-length coat made out of those obis. And I said, she said, "Oh, I got something to show you." I said, "What's that?" I said, "Oh, look, the big coat." And I said, "That's gorgeous obis you have there. Where'd you get them?" "Oh, my husband had a friend going out there, so he picked them up for me this after the war." I said, "That's gorgeous. Let's get to work." She said, "Well, that is what I want to show you." So she took it off, and she's wearing kind of a light tan evening gown. That's the most beautiful thing I think I've ever seen. And it fit her just like it had been painted on her. She had a pimp or a mole or anything, it would show because it fit her that tight. I said, "What's this all about?" She said, "Well, I'm the head of the Eastern Star, and we're having our national convention here in 2 weeks. That's why I give you 6 weeks' time." She said that this is the only gown that I found that I liked at all. And she said, "This is 8 sizes too small when I got it." But she said, "It fits now." And you had to agree, it really did. But that's all she wanted. Just vain enough that she wanted that gown and wanted to fit her. And we took off 147 pounds in 12 treatments, 3 times a week. So weight can be taken off quite readily. Okay. Yeah. Now I want to tell you about Kapo, which is the Oriental way of doing what they call CPR here in the States, but don't say they're the same at all. There's no similarity in them. In the early 70s, I was invited up to a session they had uptown on CPR, and they had 60 people there, 40 of them students and 20 of them teachers. So we took about a month of that, and in that they tell you first find the bottom of the sternum here, take your fist and close it and hit just hard as you can on that thing, and then you blow into their mouth 4 times, and then you go into pressing on their chest 8 times and 4 times into the mouth and back and forth like this until they come around or they're pronounced dead. So after we went through this for quite some time, they finally had a seminar, and we all invited back to see what we felt about it. And being W, I was the last one on the list to speak, so they got to me and they said, "Mr. Wilson, what do you think of the CPR?" And I said, "I'm not going to say that as a flat statement because it wouldn't sound good. But first, how many of you have ever used this on people that have been pronounced dead or their heart has stopped?" Not one of them, including the instructors, that ever had it. I said, let me tell you two things. First thing, when you hit that sternum just hard as you can like that, it is absolutely unsupported. The ribs even go in at an angle like this. So you break that thing off and shove it into the heart and lungs, and you've killed them. Now, if that's what you want to do, there are other ways of doing it simpler. I said, I'd like to tell you how the Orientals do this. If a person is down on their stomach, or they're sitting, you can lay them over like that, you put your hand on their shoulders. Now the heart is 2/3 on this left side and 1/3 on the right side. So you put your hand over the heart and it's just above the rib cage, which starts right there. You get your hand here, and you've got that closed this manner, so you're compressing air every stroke you have. I'll put this back again, just a little bit more, right there. Can you feel that? Mm-hmm. That is compressing air between my palm and the back, and you keep this up, you start this, and that's all you do until somebody comes in and pronounces them dead, and you haven't revived them. But don't stop on just a minute or two. Go ahead at 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. I've had 6 people pronounced dead and brought them out of it.
Tell us the timing on that too.
And this is one a second. And that's all you have to do, and that is what the Orientals call Kappo. K-A-P-P-O. It really works. One of the other things I want to tell you, an upset stomach. This isn't something that comes out of any of the training we've had, anything we've been talking about. But I read about it and it works. But if you have an upset stomach, take a brush, fairly good pressure like that, and give this about a dozen strokes this way. Then you put the other hand over and do the same thing on this. For some reason or other, and I haven't figured it out, it helps an upset stomach. That's all that's necessary. Huh? Oh, septic off. So, we go now to zone therapy. There were 3 English doctors who went to the Orient quite a number of years ago, or about 1906, what time I was born, I guess. And they were over there studying acupuncture. And at that time, they had some brass needles that were about that long, and they're like, you know what a nut pick is? About 1/8 of an inch in diameter, about 5 or 6 inches long, with a point on it. Well, these things, if they put them into you, there's so much weight that it'd fall out. So they put just a little hook in the end of it. You put that in and turn it, and it stayed there. Well, these English doctors saw that, and they were out of acupuncture right now. They had no part of it. So then they started studying acupressure, which is the expression in Chinese meant that. But that, when it got to Japan, turned out to be shiatsu. Shi being the fingertips, atsu being pressure. And they learned that in the same way that they would learn acupuncture, by using the right hand on the right, the left on the left, and that sort of thing. So that has come down through the years that way. Well, then after they had written their book on zone therapy, no, they wrote, yes, their book was on zone therapy. And then came along, what's her name?
Eunice Ingham Schopel?
Eunice Ingham studied under them, and after she'd been doing this for a few years, she got very adept at it, so she wrote a book, Reflexology on the Body. And they're using the same points that you do for acupuncture, but they're doing shiatsu on them. And she did quite a commendable job, but most of hers was on the feet. One of her students turned out to be Mildred Carter, who was a nurse. Her husband was a doctor, and they collaborated after she'd been at this a few years, and they wrote 3 books. The first one was Helping Yourself with Reflexology of the Hands, just working on the feet, I guess it was, the hands and feet. And when they got through that, then they went into reflexology of the body. And their books out on each of these subjects today. These all go right back to acupressure or shiatsu, which is one of the oldest health methods in use in the world.
But isn't zone therapy, it does encompass acupuncture, shiatsu, and reflexology. I thought they were about born at the same time. I do know that reflexology is about 5,000 years old. I'm uncertain. You said that acupuncture was 30,000 years old. I'm not certain as to the real dates and statistics on that matter, but they all did come from China. They originated there and then came from China to Japan. So my question to you,
Go ahead.
my question to you is, weren't they all put together at the same time?
No. they
No.
weren't. It's an evolution. These doctors went over there in about 1906, the turn of the century. And it's Doctors Fitzgerald, Bowers, and then George Starr White is the one that wrote the book on zone therapy for these doctors. And this is the points that they used, how they used them, the methods. It even tells about some of the needles they used. But in their work, the thing that is a fallacy here, being doctors, they don't pay too much attention to anybody else. It's only what they have in their books that they pay any attention to. So you find that in their books, they show that there are 10 meridians in the body. 5 on this side, 5 on this side, and then of course you got the same in the back. But these are what they call the zones, and they're nothing like an acupuncture meridian. And if you take a look at the chart up here, I'll trace out a few of these things so you can see what they are. The heart meridian starts in the web of the arm up here. It comes down the inside of the arm, down through here, and then down through the hand. Here's 7, 8, or 6, 7, 8, 9, 8, and this is 9 here in the end of the little finger, or the side of the little finger. The kidney meridian starts under the bottom of the foot, goes up across the body, comes up into about here. But again, that kidney meridian is duplicated over here. The heart meridian is duplicated over here. Then you go to the back, and every one of these meridians are interpreted on each side of the back.
Okay, LaRoy, if the meridian does start, as you say, the kidney meridian starts at the foot, then in actuality you would go from the number 1 through however many meridians there were. So therefore, in the kidney meridian itself, you would start with the feet and work upward as opposed to working downward. Is that correct?
That's right, but that's going into what we call shiatsu massage. Now you can take each one of these points and work on just that point for the problem that you're working on, or you can do the shiatsu massage, which means taking the particular meridians and starting with number 1, like on the kidney, starting at the bottom of the foot and working up across, and I think it stops up here in the upper chest, close to the collarbone. And then the stomach meridian starts at the eye, comes down across the face and down the leg, but it's never, none of these except the kidney and bladder meridian are straight at any time. Going back to this chart again, these are the center line, conception vessel and governing vessel. These are the bladder meridians, 2 of them here and 2 of them here. This is the lower numbers, this is the higher numbers. And then it comes on clear down into the foot and down to the toe. But these meridians, except these, like this, are very seldom straight. The kidney meridian starts here and winds up around the inside like this and goes clear up in through here like that. But these meridians are not straight, as they show in the zone therapy book. Therefore, there's quite a difference in the actual use of the 2 or 3 methods that you use. But if you're going to do a shiatsu, you use that chart. And then, in order to find the points on those charts, they'll tell you, for example, that for toothache, it's E24 right here. And you reach that and hold it, and that does the trick for you. But on the ear, and in the book on Okazaki's massage, there's a picture of the ear with 231 points on it, and you use them 2 at a time, a right on the right side, the left on the left side when you work on a person, the same as you do on the body. And if you had hiccups, there's S18 down from the nipple, and on this chart it shows lines here that are dimensions. These are called kuhns. A kuhn is a Chinese unit of measurement, and a quarter of an inch here would be interpreted. Say you want to go to 18 here. That's about a half an inch. So it's 2 kuhns in length down. A kuhn measured on your plant you're working on is the length of that bone, not including the nail. So you take the length of that bone, this is about 7/8 of an inch. So if you want 2 kuhns, it'd be 1.5 inches. Down from the nipple, that's S18. Put your right hand on the right and left on the left, and that's the way you get rid of hiccups that way.
Would you say that most meridian points that were blocked would be sensitive to the touch? Or are there times when a meridian is blocked, but there is no pain when you go to touch that area? You should feel pain. The person should feel pain when you come upon it.
If you put any great amount of pressure on it, you will feel pain there.
Uh-huh.
But they tell you that you're not to hurt anybody, but if you happen to get on one that's real tender, work it gently so that you don't hurt them, and work it out. That takes care of it.
So you're going in a rotating motion, right hand to right body, left hand to left body, in a mini rotation for how long a period of time?
Never over a minute. Now, if it's a real bad case, say here for Bell's palsy, when you're working this, if you only did that for a minute, you probably wouldn't get any of that out. But you do that up to 5 minutes, and do twice as much rubbing it out as you do working on it, and you'll take it out. But that again is one place only. It only occurs on this side, so you're going to work on that side. But in all these, if you're going to do acupuncture, you must know that acupuncture point, or subo they call it, is only about 18 thousandths of an inch in diameter, which is 1/5 of an eighth of an inch. So that isn't very big. And to put a needle in that and miss it, you haven't done a bit of good. You've wasted your time and their time too by not hitting it. So you hit that and hit it exactly by using a point locator, which I don't have here with me right now. But you take a point locator, locate that point, and when the light comes on, that's it. And then you put your pointer there, and your pointer, find it over here, same way. Put the needles in there, and this will be the positive lead from your battery box, and this will be your negative. And that's the way you do it.
I found the ohm factor of the meridian points themselves to be just incredible as far as the ampage per meridian. Could you elaborate on that a little?
Well, they'll tell you in their books, and it's in the books I've written here too, that a subo is an exact point, as I say, 18 thousandths of an inch in diameter, and there are close to 700 of them in the body. And you have to hit them exactly. The subos are small enough that if you put your finger on there using acupressure or shiatsu on it, you can put 50 needles in that area that you cut your finger on, so you don't have to be that close. But if you're using needles, you better have that exactly. Now, if you're coming up here to the ear, there's 231 places in the ear that you can put needles or do shiatsu. If you happen to grab here and get 2 of those things, and over here you get 2 other ones, you've done more harm than you have good, because you followed up both meridians, both sides.
But how many ohms are in one meridian point?
It's been figured that, and it can be proven, if you take an ohm meter and do this, or you take these point locators and do the same thing, there's 500,000 ohms resistance between any 2 points on the body, except when you come to a subo. And at that point, it drops off to 20,000. So you make up a resistance that goes in here, they'll turn on the light at 20,000, and when the light comes on, you're exactly on it. Now, if you move that a little bit, it still stays on. That isn't sensitive enough, so you change the sensitivity, If you wait, I'll show you what a point locator looks like. Locator I was telling you about, I'll show you how it works. There's a resistance up in here that when you reach, first there's 500,000 ohms resistance between any 2 points on the body where there is not a subul or a point. But if you come to a point, it drops off to 20,000 ohms, and that 20,000 ohms is what turns on this light. So now to do this thing, we have to have a good contact so that the points, both of them have to be damp. We put this on, first we turn it on. And there's a little light down here. It's drying out on it. Now, you keep moving this back and forth. When you hit that point, that light will come on. There, we'll pass over. There. Can you see the light coming on? And where that comes on, that's the point that you want to work on. That's all there is to it. But you have to have them damp in order to have good conductivity. And I just use an alcohol swab to cleanse this, so if you put needles in, you don't carry germs into it, and it keeps it wet too, the same as your saliva does. But either way, it does the same thing. And that's all the point locator is. I pay $45 a piece for these, and I sell them for the same price, so I don't have to pay tax on them. But that's the way. Now I've told you all about the massage, demonstrated what we do and how we do it, why we do it, and you'll have the same privilege that I have had of using this stuff to your own satisfaction. It depends on how much you put into anything before you get anything out. The longer you study, the better you are. My dad used to have an expression I've always honored. It's a sad day when you can't learn something. I love it. But in working with Okazaki, there wasn't a man I've ever respected more in my life than him, because of his ability to do anything. At one time we had in one of the judo tourneys we had, one kid was just getting up and had his leg bent like that when another was thrown out of position, hit his middle of his back on this kid's knee. And when he got up, here was a rib standing out like that, about 1.5 inches. And I pointed to Professor Dyfix, so he put his knee between his shoulders like this and pulled back on it like this, got it back, he said, put it in. So I put that back in place. He put a piece of tape on it, held it in place, and 3 days later this kid was back in class again. It's just how he did things. It was his nature of doing things that way. Another time, in 1930, we had quite an electrical storm in Hawaii. That's very seldom ever happens out there. In 3 years, I had never seen one. And when I was back in Iowa, met my girlfriend, and we were out driving. We got caught in an electrical storm, and you put your hand 6 inches from her body, and sparks would jump. She accepted every bit of electricity in the air all the time, and it was shocking. So before we got back that night, she says, "Did they ever have storms like that in Hawaii?" And I said, "I've been there 3 years. I've never seen a serious storm yet. We've had a couple tidal waves that didn't amount to anything, but nothing serious." She said, "I'm coming out." So we got married the 19th of December. Well, before the first of the year, we had the damnedest electrical storm you've ever seen. It hit in the mountains, and the mountains run kind of a northeast to southwest direction. And then there's palisades down each one of them, the full length of the island, about 45 miles of it. And when the lightning hit out by beyond Diamond Head at Cocoa Head, he'd go down this thing, boom, 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 and the whole island just shaking like it was going to fall apart. Well, she looked at me and I said, "No, wait, I didn't have a thing to do with that." And just then it hit right, we thought, in our backyard. So I went to the back windows and looked out, and nothing's disturbed at all. I picked up the paper the next morning, and here that lightning, we were right in front of Diamond Head, just off the polo grounds where we lived. And it hit right back of Diamond Head at a dairy farm at milking time. And it killed 16 head of cattle and 3 Japanese milkers. So Okazaki was going by there that morning. He happened to see that crowd up there, and he went up to see what was wrong. Here's one of his friends laying there dead. So he started using Capo, and when the meat wagon came 10 minutes later to pick these bodies up, they got two. Where's the third one? He said, no, we're smoking a cigarette. That's the way he handled things. Just instantaneously. He knew what to do. He'd been in it so long. But as I say, there's no better health or healing man in the world than Okazaki was. He was tops. I'd like to tell you that, well, I've already said that if you want to get anything out of it, you have to put into it as much as you get out, maybe more. But it's worth it, and the more you do it, the more you'll enjoy it, helping people. Now I'd like to introduce you to my friend that's been our photographer for this whole thing. It was doing wonders. Back when I had an eye operation, a cataract removed in '81, I couldn't see for a period of 9 months with the new lens in. So she came to me. I was and still am the chairman of the board for testing everybody to get licensed in Reno for massage work. So she came in one time. She said, well, I was taking your written exam and passed it. Now what do I do? I said, you have to prove to me you know how to do massage work. You ready? Oh, yes, but I don't do massage work. I said, what do you do? She says, reflexology. I said, well, I studied that under Unisingham back in the 50s in Washington, D.C., so I know what it is. Go ahead. And she started on my feet, and she got down to these pads on the bottom of the foot. This is for the right eye. This is for the right ear. The same on the other side for the left. But she got down to that. She said, well, what's wrong with your right eye? I said, nothing. I just can't see through it. Why? And I said, well, I had a cataract removed. It had a lens implanted in it, and I can't see since then. So she started working on me. And I don't recall now exactly the timing, but it seems it was about 3 weeks that she worked on me with this. And I went back to see the doctor. He said, I don't know what you're doing. Well, whatever it is, keep it up. It's getting better. And within a week or so after that, he said, you see in 2020, you stop whatever you're doing. I wouldn't tell him because he wouldn't understand it then. But she's the one that did that. And then after I fell 21 months ago and broke my back, I was in pretty bad shape for quite a while. And my leg was paralyzed. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. Between the work that she's learned besides the reflexology, her orthobiotomy, and all this, she actually saved my life. That's truthful. So I want to introduce you to Catherine Adriana, one of the best health persons I've ever worked with. And she's also learned this massage and is very good at it. Catherine, thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Wilson. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
I'll get out of here late.
Good. Okay, it's speech time, ladies and gentlemen. Believe me, it's taken a while to put this segment together for LaRoy and for all the people who are going to enjoy and experience his teachings through Professor Harry Okazaki, and I feel they are totally valid, and I've worked with them myself and found them to be incredibly wonderful therapies, not only for physical therapists who have just gotten in touch with this information, but for a lot of other people. I think that the value in this tape is going to be well worth the price of it. And as far as my friend LaRoy, we've been together now for 3 years. I've been working and studying, trying right by his side as much as possible. And he's taken me out of a lot of scrapes too. There was a time when I injured my back rather severely up in the upper thoracic region, and this was before LaRoy had broken his back again 21 months ago, and he was able to take care of my spine without doctors, without anyone. And my spine is fine today through Professor Harry Okazaki's Japanese massage. And I think after 50 years of LaRoy doing it, it should be Harry Okazaki and LaRoy Wilson's Japanese massage. Henry Okazaki, of course. Anyway, thank you. I really enjoyed taping it. I hope my tape is okay for everyone. And here is the lady who went and was worked on. Her name is Starfire, and she's I'm just going to introduce her now so that you know it's a family affair.
This is just a hello, goodbye.
Hello, goodbye.